Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Thursday, March 23rd, 2023 business meeting of Tacoma Public Schools Board of Directors to order. Will everyone please rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tacoma Public Schools acknowledges that we are on the traditional, ancestral, and historical lands of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Puyallup Tribe. This acknowledgement serves as a first step in honoring our nearest tribal neighbors and partners who have inhabited this region since time immemorial, and to whom we give thanks for allowing us passage on their lands. We shall intentionally create inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and socio-political realities. General Counsel Benro, would you please call the roll?
Yes. President Bombright?
Here.
Vice President Strozier?
Here.
Director Keeling?
Here.
Director McKellar?
Here.
We have a quorum?
And I don't see any student reps tonight?
Not this evening. We have an excusal for Amanda Peterson.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So moving on to item number 5. Can I have a motion for the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anyone have any comments or questions, additions, or subtractions on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0. Item number 6, recognition of staff, student, and community. We are postponing the item that we had on the agenda previous to now, tonight, for the recognition of our Shining Star Community Partner Award for Matthew Wilson of the Oasis Youth Center, because he's ill this evening, and so we're going to push that forward to April 13th. Item number 7, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Directors. Tonight, Dr. Forrest Greek is going to get us kicked off, and we have a very special group of team members that we're excited to take a moment to pause and be grateful for. Dr. Greek.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Garcia and members of the board. So it is my pleasure to recognize our Whole Educator Board recognition for the month of February to our custodians. TPS would like to thank our custodians for their dedication to ensure our learning spaces are clean and healthy. Tom Chalk, Director of Facilities, who was unable to join us today, but said it really best. Our entire custodial team does an exceptional job. With all the expectations placed on them, they support our community partners, breakfast after the bell and beyond the bell, and provide clean and safe environments for all our students, staff, and community members connect to our schools. Joining me here today is 2 of our custodial managers, Stephanie and Alex. If you could join me up here. They're going to say a few comments, specifically about a few of our custodians here in the audience.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stephanie Acevedo, and I'd like to introduce some employees who are doing an outstanding job. So since the mic is facing this way, do you want me to face this way? My first video?
Whatever you feel most comfortable.
Okay.
We got cameras everywhere, Stephanie.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
definitely on camera. We're
All right.
capturing all of it.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Good evening once again, President Bonbright and members of the board. I'm pleased to recognize Curtis Honell. Tom told me that Curtis is keeping the Starbucks gift card industry in business all by himself. Curtis has received kudos 3 months in a row, and the important fact about this is that Curtis is a relief chief and could be at a different school each day. So,
Oh. Hey, Curtis.
so to recognize Curtis, if you could please stand up.
Good evening, board. My name is Alex Rusev, custodial manager. I would like to recognize tonight Jen Frazier. Is Jen here tonight? Must be running late. Anyway, most of you know Jen Frazier. She is our COVID superstar. I don't know if any of you remember the COVID days. She was our disinfectant lead. She did a great job. Sorry she's not here today. I guess didn't make it. Then we have Matthew Lalone. Matthew Lalone. Matthew Lalone is a chief at Roosevelt. We also partnered up with Bezos Academy. That's a partnership that's at Roosevelt. It's a great positive vibe due to responsibilities and professionalism. Matt has provided our partner. With Matt continued leadership with Bezos, we will have a long positive partnership with Bezos Academy. He also mentors students, and it's always nice to see you, Matthew, doing your thing. I appreciate you. Yvette Swafford. Many of you know Yvette. Thank you. Yvette is, she's already got the flowers. But she's an amazing chief. The building loves her, the kids love her. It's nice to see our rising stars. As a newly hired recently, she's doing a great job. And then I appreciate everyone that's here tonight. Thank you for coming. And then Stephanie will wrap it up. Thank you.
All right, David Riley, if you could please stand. He is a chief custodian at Stafford Elementary. David is trying to keep up with Curtis, having 2 kudos in a short period of time. In one of his kudos, he was recognized as the heart of the school. When presented with a small token of thanks, David pointed out that he loved the grounds crew and appreciated them doing their thing. How about that? Recognize others while being recognized. A true professional. Thank you, David.
All right, Dave.
And last but not least is Mr. Chaivat Sidiochi. If you could please stand up. He is the chief at Baker, and he is 1 in a million. When you hear his name, when you hear the saying that one person can make a difference, Mr. Chai is a living example of that. He has only been at Baker for a short amount of time, but his impact is deep. He did more of the cosmetics of the school in 2 weeks than it's been in 11 years. Although Chai is an excellent custodian, he goes way beyond the job description. He's a true champion for the kids and walks around the lunchrooms daily connecting with students, making sure they feel seen and valued. His pride for the Baker Bulldog community is contagious, and Mr. Chai is a friend to many and support to all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and we are so eternally grateful to all of our custodians. And I know you referred to COVID days, which really the nutrition staff and the custodians really just carried this district during those period of times, as well as the teachers, of course, who were teaching from home with their own kids on other school classes, et cetera, too. So we know how hard it was. Your workload tripled, and we really, really appreciate every day the work that you do to keep our schools looking great and our kids interacting with our kids in such positive, whole child ways. So thank you very much for our custodians. One more round of applause. Okay.
Our next update is, Mr. Neal, are you here? I thought felt the excitement of Mr. Neal. And we thought we'd give you a quick update of our middle school sports session 3. Sometimes we don't get enough time to celebrate some of the good stuff that's going on. And Mr. Neal, give us a quick
Hello.
update.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. We have 4 sessions of middle school sports that we offer in Tacoma Public Schools. In session 3, we're just wrapping up. I know, yeah, it's going to work. During session 3, we have girls basketball, we have football, and we have co-ed bowling. So you see some of our competitors there. We wrapped up this week with our all-city bowling tournament. And our girls champions were Hunt Middle School, and you see them pictured here. They bowl for a total of 6 weeks, and then the 7th week, the top 5 bowlers from each school, boys and girls, come and have a big tournament. So we had over 100 bowlers at Paradise Bowl this week. And then our boys champions were the Mason Mustangs, and so you see them pictured here. Today, we had our All-City Girls Basketball Championships. I just came back from Foss High School where the Baker Bulldogs defeated the Gray Pilots 47-25 to be the All-City champions, and they were actually undefeated. So that's a great season for them. And then next week, we will take our final for boys football at Lincoln Bowl on Thursday at 3:30. The 6-1 Hilltop Bobcats will take on the 6-3 Gray Pilots, and we'd love to have you come and cheer on our football teams at middle school. And that's our
Great.
middle school update.
Thank
Next
you.
season starts first day after spring break. We have co-ed track and field, co-ed wrestling, and girls fast pitch. So
Thank you.
get your physicals in.
Thank you for getting that message out.
And then one last update, Dr. Nolan and I had a chance just today, this afternoon. We played a very important role in the global reading contest. There were 6 schools participating: Fern Hill, Jefferson, Lowell, Sherman, Skyline, and Washington. Dr. Nolan and I were smart enough not to be judges, but play a critical role in helping in the facilitation. It was a very tough competition. Kids have to read a number of books, and then on the clock, with 1 minute, they have to go through and answer questions about the books. They cannot have the books in front of them. Very impressive, and so I want to give a shout out to all of the students that participated in that. I believe it's grades 3, 4, and 5 are eligible to participate, and encourage others. And the winner was our Sherman students won the Global Reading Challenge. So
Right.
congratulations to Sherman.
Okay. So I have to say, I last year I got to participate in that reading challenge, and it is amazing to watch these kids. So thank you.
And a big shout out to the staff that
Who
were
make it
all
happen,
supportive and helping them out.
And the librarians have a huge role in that. So once again,
Absolutely.
kudos to our librarians who are constantly helping our kids take that next step forward. So by the way, I think we noticed that the custodian who missed her accolades, I believe, just walked in. So I want to make sure that she can rise up and get recognized.
Thank you. Jen definitely have seen every room in at every school.
Oh.
She's been up and down the entire district, even at 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Wow.
So thank you, Jen. And I also want to thank the board, Lisa, Josh, for giving me a lead, Matt Monet, who is partially responsible for a lot of their successes.
All right.
So thank you all.
Go
Appreciate
team.
it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for coming, all of the custodians, and for sharing your stories with us and all of your hard work. All right, item number 8, and I saw Roslyn sneak up and then sneak away. Financial legislative update.
Well, thank you. I have a lot to say and almost nothing to say at the same time. Like it's been an interesting legislative session. This is our first update to you on what's happening at the legislature. They began in mid-January, but the process is moving along pretty nicely. Today they released their first budget. The Senate budget was released, and this really gets started in what's happening in the legislative process. They have about 1 month left to get everything finalized and completed. This week, we also had the Economic Revenue Forecast Council release their forecast for March. It wasn't as positive as they had hoped. Revenues are slow growing. They're not growing as quickly as they thought they would be growing, and so that they've got to make some modifications to what they had initially anticipated. They're seeing lower real estate excise taxes coming in, and they're anticipating lower sales tax, as well as some concerns around recession risk, inflation, and layoffs that are happening locally, especially in the tech sector. So the real question becomes, will the values of the legislature align to the paramount duty of the legislature, which is to fund education? And that's where I think the legislature is at wrestling right now. Some of the bills that we're watching in the legislature, so this is actually one that's on your legislative agenda, which was to increase the special education funding. There's 2 bills that are really making progress towards that activity that you've requested from them. The first is House Bill 1436, and it's estimated to increase special education funding for the state at $169 million. Now, we would represent right around 2.5% to 3% of that. Typically, it's not always right on the mark, but it's a pretty good benchmark for us. The main tenets of the bill would be to increase the multiplier. The multiplier is basically how we get enhanced funding. So they give a ratio, they multiply it by the regular allocation that we would get and times the number of students that we get. And so when the multiplier goes up, our portion or ratio of those resources goes up as well. So that's one component that they're doing. However, in the House bill, they only phase it in over a period of time. So it's a very slow increase in resources to us for special needs students. And the same thing happens with the cap. there's a phased-in cap. The cap is the number of students that they will actually fund us for. So right now, the cap is set to 13.5% of your population. If you take your whole student population, you can have up to 13.5% of your students be represented under the special education lens and be funded. We're actually at about 14.7% roughly. So we have a big portion of our population that we have being served under special needs services that are no longer being funded for by the state. We do have a little bit of relief in that there's a safety net funding source, and the safety net comes in and steps up for students who are significantly high cost. After they've exceeded a certain cost of providing those services, we're able to apply for additional funding. And so the House bill doesn't actually provide any additional resources for safety net, but they do increase the cap over a period of time. So again, it's that slow growth into some additional resources. They've included some good language on inclusion in this bill. They're going to do a study because the legislature loves nothing more than a good study. And they are also doing something that's a little concerning around their language and asking us to shift resources out of one funding source over to special needs in order to cover the costs of those things, leaving a deficit on the other side. So it's basically taking money out of one hand and putting it in the other hand without giving you any resources to meet the needs. That's why we are favoring or feel preferential around Senate Bill 5311. It provides us with $359 million across the state for additional special education resources. The multiplier happens in an accelerated fashion. It would be in this first year. The cap would also increase from 13.5% to 15%, which means all of our special needs students would be funded through that cap model. And then they have some additional safety net enhancements. Most of this language was actually included in the Senate bill that was released today. So that's great news for us, and hopefully we'll see as they begin the negotiations between the House and the Senate, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means when I get to the end of the presentation, but when they begin their negotiations, hopefully the Senate will prevail in their expectations. Another one of your legislative agenda requirements, or requests, was increasing the transportation funding formula. So the current funding formula is this very nebulous, very antiquated regression formula that no one can really explain. It becomes very challenging for us to try to predict what our resources will be. OSPI has a difficult time explaining to us what our resources will be. And so we've asked to have a more simplified model. And they put together a plan in Senate Bill 5174. Unfortunately, as it's continued its iterations through the House and the Senate, that bill has been relatively stripped down. And at this point, it really just adds some additional resources for special passengers. So students who are McKinney-Vento or homeless students or whichever special populations they end up defining within the bill, we would be able to apply for some additional resources to support those specific issues, but nothing really addresses the funding gaps that we have. And of course, there's another study in that bill, so very exciting. On our other legislative action, there was some educator compensation bills. So there's two bills that are traveling through the legislature right now, House Bill 1732 and Senate Bill 5650. Both bills are identical. I mean, pretty much do the same thing. And what they would do is actually correct, well, I'm going to call it correct. I think clarify is probably a better terminology. Clarify when we're going to pull the data for implicit price deflator. That's our inflationary increase. And right now it's very complex because it happens after you're already in the middle of the year. And so you're kind of looking backwards at trying to do increases for the future year. This would make it so that it's set as a beginning of a year. You would know going into the legislative cycle exactly what that number would be. And so it would provide clarity and predictability, both for the legislature and for school districts. And in doing this, they would set that rate for this current year, this upcoming year, at 3.7% implicit price deflator. So that's basically a cost of living adjustment. Keeping in mind for the school district, the implications of that would be we get about 65% of our staff funded by the state, and we have to apply that IPD to all of our staffs. And that means that anybody that's not funded by the state, now we have this cost burden that would need to be picked up, or an investment that would need to be picked up through our local levy. And so it does cost us a considerable amount of money if this does come to fruition. But at the same time, I think the predictability is also something that's very desirable. There's also a couple of other educator bills, educator compensation bills that we're going through. There was a very large study that was done, Education Compensation Work Study Group, and they worked for almost a year and came up with recommendations, threw those over to OSPI, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, who then developed a budget package around some very robust increases in educator compensation and some of the extra pieces that go along with that. And basically none of that is moving forward. There are a few things that the Senate bill did on regionalization and I can't remember the other term off the top of my head. It's sitting on the document right back there. I can visualize it. But there's really going to be no change or investment for us as it relates to this. So for us, it's sort of a null point. Two other surprises that we found in the legislatures we've been processing through. Senate Bill 1550 is a modification to the transitional kindergarten program. So we implemented transitional kindergarten in 5 classrooms in the 22-23 year. And those classrooms allow for us to provide basically basic education classes for 4-year-old students. And it's another way that we can provide resources for preschool in a basic education format, and I think that it has a lot of opportunities to it. It's gone well for us in our implementation of it this year. And the request from the legislature in the House Bill 1550 was to essentially strip back all of those resources and shift them into either a new program called Transition to Kindergarten or have them just run through the ECAP Head Start programs that exist currently. And there's a lot of different concerns that are around these bills. I don't think I need to get too far deep into it, but the reality is we're really not sure what's going to happen with this bill. It could be an implication that means that we won't be able to fund the programs that we have today, or it may mean that we're able to enhance the funds that we have today if nothing happens with the bill. So we like the program that we have in transitional kindergarten. There's opportunities that are there if we do it right. It provides for additional classroom spaces for preschool students, which are in demand, and they don't have all of the implications necessarily around free and reduced lunch or things like that. So it offers an opportunity for a population that may not be served as easily as some other populations are in our community. And then another bill is Senate Bill 5175. This is a principals bill. I think that this one actually had some adjustments to it either yesterday or today, and I just didn't get to this one. But it permits school districts to allow for 3-year contracts for principals, which is interesting and provides us with some new opportunities to look at the way we offer our contracts, but at the same time comes with some concerns as well. So those are some of the bills that we're watching and that have some financial implications to them, some concerns that we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on. What's next for us would be monitoring the Senate budget, which I said was released today, 5187, and then the House budget will come out on March 27th. So keep in mind that that's our operating budget. That's what happens in the general fund. Then there's capital budgets. The capital budgets are a completely separate pot of resources that are meant to drive into buildings and improvements and things like that. And so we don't do a lot with our capital budget as it relates to the legislative cycle. We do get some resources and some legislation that come through the capital side of things, but generally we're talking specifically about operating. What'll happen from this point is the Senate has released, the House will release hopefully Monday, and then they will begin negotiations with the different caucuses. So the Republicans and the Democrats from each, the Senate and the House, will get together and start building out which pieces of the budget need to stay and which pieces need to go. And from that, they'll determine how much they're going to invest, how much they're going to invest in education. And good news is we still have an opportunity to help advocate for those resources and try to get things to work in our favor. And we will just have to wait and see how that goes. But that's what I had for you this evening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Medina. Does anyone have any comments or questions for our CFO?
I would just add that part of what's also happening, just for the public, is there's rules committees, there's amendments, there's like negotiations on some of these bills. And so there's still what I call a lot of hurry up and wait in terms of what legislation, what the implications will be, and even towards the end of session, there'll still be implications that we won't know and for a bit. So it's I don't know, it's sort of like Monopoly, and it's just there's a lot that goes into. I happened to be at the Capitol yesterday, and there was a hearing on the TK bill. And so there's just still quite a bit of movement in both, in all the committees and in both chambers. So,
Very active time at the legislature.
Very.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, because I know it's this stuff is coming out every day, and so keeping it up to date is challenging. So thanks for the hot off the press report here. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, you take care. All right, item number 9, members of the public wishing to address the board. So school board members, we encourage public participation, and your civil input is appreciated. Board members will not respond to your comments during the meeting. The superintendent or a designee will follow up with you after the meeting if action is needed. And instead of speaking at the meeting, you may also send an email to board@tacoma.k12.wa.us. Please contact the board office in advance of a meeting for disability accommodations. So we have 2 options. We have written comments, of which we have 2 this evening, and then we have verbal comments for those of you in the room who would like to make a comment. And so I'm now going to turn it over to our general counsel, who will tell you the rules.
Yes. So we have 3, as you pointed out, we have 2 written comments that have been uploaded to the agenda, and we have 3 verbal comments this evening. Under Board Policy 1430, which governs public comment, the board president may interrupt and or terminate comments when the speaker exceeds the time allotted, or when comments are either personally directed or abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Board Policy 1430 is summarized on the blue comment cards outside the door of the auditorium. They're also available on tacomaschools.org. So the first comment we have this evening is from Jennifer Lawfrey.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Lawry. I'm a parent of 3 girls with 2 being Gray Middle students, 6th and 8th grade. I came in October over bullying at Gray, as well as the elementary school locally. While there was an attempt, it wasn't fixed at Gray. It feels more like a show, not an actual solution. We signed an anti-bullying form with our students at the start of the year, yet my children are still being bullied or have been bullied on a daily basis. My 6th grader has been aggressively bullied nonstop this year, being booed at an honor roll assembly, being attacked in the halls, called names, made fun of, and harassed outside of school are just a few. We had a no contact order drawn up, which was violated by the other student. Bullying happening at home that started at school can't be addressed, even when there's a proof of a nexus. Having a feeling that I have to call the police or BACA to protect my child at school shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be a reality. Spending hours a week, week after week at the school, which results in missed hours, smaller paychecks, and less opportunities for my children, shouldn't be a reality. The principal is doing everything she can in her power to fix this, but needs more support. Talking to the students and their parents, counselors talking to the kids, speakers coming to the school, and even assemblies about bullying are just a few things that have been tried. When other faculty are causing issues, nothing's going to work. There's teachers and other admin doing nothing, rolling their eyes at the principal, arguing with parents, bullying other staff, cursing at students, or making rude comments when students and parents are standing right there. These are just a few things I've witnessed at Gray. Many of the teachers have been there too long and have gotten way too comfortable. How can you expect the students to behave when the teachers don't? This is stuff I've witnessed while there. Let's look at the numbers. Gray website directory has 51 names listed for staff and teachers. After going through the list with my 6th grader, she truly feels safe with 10. Let that sink in. 10 out of 51. That's less than 20% that make my child feel safe. The whole child thing that you guys talks about 24 hours a day, and mental health is an issue. She's struggling. I'm struggling. We need this fixed, and we need it fixed now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Superintendent, would you please have...
Ms. Pace. It's ready.
Okay.
Our next speaker this evening is Zelda Tosher.
Zelda?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, come on up, Zelda.
Hi, my name is Zelda Tosher. I'm a sixth grader at Gray Middle School. I am here to talk about the problems at Gray Middle School. One of the problems being that I am being bullied and do not feel safe in class or the halls. The only people I feel are trying to take care of the bullying is the principal, my choir, orchestra, ELA, and science teachers. That is only 5 teachers in the entire school. I feel that I am having time taken away from my work and classes due to the bullying. There are fights in the halls every day, which make me and many others feel unsafe or make us late for class because it blocks the halls. Most of the staff at Gray do not deal with bullying and just sit and watch or come after the student being bullied, like they are the ones that start the problems. I have 2 more years at Gray and want to feel safe. The principal is the main person that I feel safe with at Gray, but she cannot be with me all day. My parents cannot take every day off work to come to every class with me. I do not like being bullied and want to have this taken care of now. I see the motto for Tacoma Public Schools every single day on my computer, and I don't feel that that is true. Thank you.
Thank you, Zelda. It's very brave of you to come and share with us tonight. We appreciate that. And Superintendent will make sure that someone comes and addresses your issues and speaks with the principal too. So thank you.
We have 2 more public comments. Next is Jennifer Lacey.
Hello, Board. My name is Jennifer Lacey. I'm a Stanley Elementary parent and a proud Hilltop resident. As the Board knows, myself and many of my fellow community members oppose the current proposed plans to build an all-turf baseball field, or 2, at Stanley Playfield, which is currently designated as a neighborhood park. It came to my attention last week that the stadium parents have known about this plan for 2 years. I would like to know if that's in fact true. If it is true, I would also like someone to tell me how the Hilltop community members only found out by chance on February 15th of this year. That would be only 36 days ago. We've been emailing, showing up to board meetings and community meetings, and we still have no real answers. We're ready to hear from TPS as to why it seems we were intentionally left out of the loop and what changes are going to be made moving forward so this does not happen to another Tacoma community. I want to make it clear that I agree that stadium students deserve to have a functional facility to play in. We just know that there are better options that are far more equitable and don't take resources away from the Hilltop community. Yesterday, I visited the beautiful new grounds of Downing Elementary. I was impressed. They have large areas of interactive blacktop, 2 play structures, 3 tetherball poles, 2 undercover areas, and they also have a large grass multi-sports field right next to the playground, which is what we've expressed that we would like. And let's not forget, they are located literally right next to Candle Park and 0.9 miles from Basalt. I am certain that that TPS would agree that the children and community members of Hilltop also deserve comparable amenities. We are ready to see proposed plans that is thoughtful and takes in consideration the needs and desires of our community. I will end with this. According to Metro Parks, our neighborhood parks are the green heartbeat of our city, cozy spots where communities can breathe fresh air and make friends, and that's what we are looking to preserve. Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening. Superintendent, I know that you've got someone to link with Ms. Lacey. Thank you.
Our last speaker this evening is Ariane Chenard.
Hi, members of the board. My name is Ariane Chanard, and I'm the mother of 3 Stanley students. I'm also here to express myself on the Stanley Field project. I think it's an ill-conceived project, and I think it's unfair to the Stanleys, to students at Stanley's, but also students in the greater neighborhood, not only Stanley, all the students in Hilltop neighborhood that use this park. We were told just a few weeks ago about this project, and that would basically take off the whole field that is a neighborhood park, carpeted it all with plastic turf, and push the kids behind bleachers on a strip of plastic turf. I think it's really unfair. I think it's environmentally unsound, and like this green space, there are not so many on the Hilltop. We don't want it to be turned to plastic, and our kids are used to running around, and I feel like this project was designed with a very narrow idea of who it was helping. Like it's just for a few ball players, like a few, I don't know how many, and they deserve to have their space, but they are not more important than all the other students. And that's a concern of me. And I believe there's something much better that can be achieved both for the ball players somewhere else and for our students at Stanley and in the neighborhood. So that's my main concern. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming this evening, and I know the superintendent has hooked somebody up to talk to you guys. So is that it on the oral?
Yes, President
Okay,
Ballmer.
so we also have 2 written comments also about the Stanley Playfield Revitalization Project. One is Amy Igama, and the other is Tiffany Reyes. So thank you, everyone, for connecting. All right, item number 10, the consent agenda.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns about the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0. Item number 11, policy matters. So we have 2 items tonight, which I'm going to turn it over to the General Counsel. The first one is 11.1, second reading of revised policy number 1310, policy adoption, manuals, and administrative procedures.
Yes, the district's general counsel recommends the board adopt the revised proposal of policy 1310. And what we can do is address this 11.1 and then follow up on 13.10 hour after.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I move to adopt item 11.1.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Anyone have any comments or questions on this policy?
I saw that it hadn't been revised in like a decade,
Yep.
so I appreciate the work of, is it the Equity Policy
Equity
Review?
Policy Review Team.
They're doing a lot of work,
They
so
are.
thank you for pushing things forward, and I know you're a part of that, so thank you for your consistency in looking into these policies that are pretty old and revising them to reflect our needs now.
Thank you. So yeah, this one is actually a policy about policies.
Yep.
It's how we make policies, and one of the things, as you know, and for the public information that we're doing, as we're going through policies, we're actually adding a purpose statement so that, because the policies were often written kind of legalese, and we really wanted to say for the general public, why does this policy exist? So one of the changes in this policy is adding that purpose statement, and another is clarifying how public can get access to commenting on whether a policy that we're considering already, or maybe a policy that you have found that you think needs some eyes on it for whatever reason. And in this policy, it explains how to do that on the website and in other ways. And so, all right, so if no one has any other questions or concerns, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? Passes 4-0. So item 11.2 is second reading of new regulation 1310.1R, and R stands for regulation, not policy, and it's policy review.
Yes, the district's general counsel recommends the board adopt the new regulation 1310.1R. One thing I'll add here is typically the board doesn't approve regulations, just policies. However, regulations that live in the 1000 series that impact the board passing policies and the cabinet passing regulations do come before the board. So even though it's a regulation, it still requires a board vote in order to pass.
And would you like to give a brief explanation of what the changes are to this?
Sure, yeah, happy to do that. So this addresses actually exactly the issue that Director McElroy was pointing out, which is that we have a number of policies in our policy manual, which even though they may be old, they may still represent good law and consistent with the practices that we should be using. We may have some other ones that we need to update. So what 1310.1R does is it establishes a regulation for staff to go through and basically look at the ones where an update may not be needed and identify it as having been reviewed without changes recommended, and then send the others to you all to review and potentially adopt if that's your decision. The ones that would either need a change because of a change in the law, because of a change in the practices, modern practices, or because of a change related to things like some of the new policies we brought on, like Policy 1600, anti-racism, and some others.
All right, anyone have any questions? Oh, so do we have a motion?
I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any comments or questions for General Counsel about this? All right, and actually this one is interesting, just as an interesting bit of the story with the Equity Policy Review Team. This regulation actually came before the Equity Policy Review Team, and they are the ones who said, well, we need to look at the actual policy first and make changes to that, and then we'll go back. So the team is on top of it, so thank you to everybody. All right, so I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we have a new policy and regulation to go with it, so thank you. It goes 4-0. Item 12, financial report. The next monthly financial report will be presented at the May 25th, 2023 business meeting. Monthly financial statements can be found on the district website at http://www.tacomaschools.org/department/business and finance. Item 13, curriculum and instruction. 13.1, approval of 3-year contractual agreement between the YMCA of Pierce and Kitsap counties for Camp Seymour and Tacoma Public Schools for September 2022 to June 2025. And I see Ms. Pace is coming up to speak on this.
Thank you. The Assistant Superintendent of K-12 Support, on behalf of the Director of Student Life, recommends that the Board of Directors approve contract number TSD-22-255, a 3-year contract between the YMCA of Pierce and Kitsap counties and Tacoma Public Schools from September 1, 2022 through June 15, 2025, with an estimated cost of $750,000 exclusive of sales tax, dependent on individual school, district school, department use. Funding source, individual district schools and/or departments.
I move to adopt item 13.1.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Anyone have any questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 13.2, approval of Head Start 2023 to 2024 continuation grant number 10CH011090.
The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning recommends the Board of Directors approve the 2023-24 Head Start Continuation Grant application 10CH011090 in the amount of $6,736,678, and if awarded, expenditure of funds in accordance with acceptance guidelines. Funding source, Office of Head Start.
I move to adopt item 13.2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments for Zeke on this one?
I appreciate the effort and the opportunity to have grants and the support of you, Zeke, and Michelle, who's in the room, for what we're doing with our Head Start kiddos. So we have to do things like this so that we can meet our own benchmark of early learning.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 4-0. On to 13.3, approval of the application of 2022-2023 Head Start COLA grant number, 10CH01190.
The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning recommends that the Board of Directors approve submission for the 2022-23 Head Start COLA grant application in the amount of $373,162, and if awarded, approve expenditures of funds accordance to accepted guidelines. It also recommended that the Board of Directors approve the request to waive non-federal share in the amount of $93,290. Funding source, Office of Head Start.
Okay,
I
anyone-
move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on this one?
I was curious if you, for the public, would explain, oh, I just lost it, what the waiver for non-federal share means.
Yes. I may have to defer
it
to
the
some of
thing
my
I read
teammates,
about?
but I know the main part is for COLA, and I know that,
She taught me. My Head Start Policy Council.
yeah. Michelle's coming to save
And
me.
Michelle's
Excellent.
coming up because
Thank
she's
you.
our
Come save
topic
the day.
expert.
And you're welcome, Zeke.
Yes, so the non-federal share is the portion of our grant that is our partnerships with the families and communities. Because this grant isn't being released to us until June, our school year is potentially over, and so we don't have the opportunity to get that community partnership within the summer months. So that is the request for the waiver of that.
Thank you for that explanation.
All right, anyone have any other comments? Thank you, Michelle. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, it passes 4-0. Item 13.4, approval of the application for fiscal year 2023 Head Start Quality Improvement Grant number 10CH01190.
The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning recommends that the Board of Directors approve submission for the funding year 2023 Head Start Quality Improvement Grant application, number 10CH01190, in the amount of $113,208, and if awarded, approve expenditure of funds accordance to accepted guidelines. It also recommended that the Board of Directors approve the request to waive the non-federal share in the amount of $28,302, funding source, Office of Head Start.
Thank you. Have a motion?
Move to adopt 13.4.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments now that we have clarity on some of that?
None.
All right. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? All right, the ayes have it, 4-0, and we have now packaged up our Head Start grant plan. So thank you, Michelle, for all your hard work on this, and Zeke for yours as well. Appreciate it to the team. Item 14, Business Matters. 14.1, approval of contract number TSD-21-018A, addendum number 4, between Maxim Healthcare and Tacoma Public Schools for the 2022 to 2023 school year.
The Deputy Superintendent, on behalf of the Director of Student Services, recommends that the Board of Directors approve contract number TSD-21-018, addendum number 4, between Maxim Healthcare and Tacoma Public Schools from September 1, 2022 to August 31, 2023, funding source Student Services.
I move to adopt item 14.1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on item 14.1? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, 4-0. 14.2, approval to award T-Stone Construction the bid for demolition of the building located at 3611 South G Street, Tacoma, Washington 98418, and parking lot design. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening. Just wanted to highlight T-Stone Construction is a women-owned business. Our team will continue to source and find opportunities for women-owned businesses and provide them opportunities. The Chief Operating Officer recommends that the Board of Directors approve their superintendent to award the bid to T-Stone Construction for the demolition of the building located at 3611 South G Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98418, in parking lot design. The total award amount is $297,200, excluding tax.
I move to adopt item 14.2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions for Mr. Williams on this? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have it 4-0. Item 14.3, approval to award contract of Phase 1 of the South Puget Sound Maritime Skills Center and Port Administrative Business Planning and
What?
Oops, wait a
14
minute.
skip one.
we skipped one.
Okay.
We're all excited for that.
We have a stick.
All right, looking at the wrong sheet. I'm going to go to the other sheet. All right, I was getting excited because it wasn't supposed to be there. Here we go. Pest
Pest
management.
control.
It's not nearly as exciting. 14.3, approval to award the contract for District Integrated Pest Management Program.
The Chief Operating Officer recommends that the Board of Directors authorize the superintendent to negotiate and award a contract for securing the purchase of District Integrated Pest Management Services as needed.
I move to adopt 14.3.
Second.
Third.
It's been seconded and thirded. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this item? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, the ayes have it, 4-0. Now, moving on to item let me make sure this is right now. 15.1, are we there?
Yes.
Okay.
First, I would like to recognize and thank the Port of Tacoma and their staff and their commissioners, and also the insights of our board and Tacoma staff, and also recognize that this started with a vision of our superintendent to continue to look at ways to make impact on our students and communities. I just wanted to give a overview of what this interlocal agreement is with Port of Tacoma. This is the first phase. We're going to have multiple phases throughout this process. There are three main objectives we're trying to accomplish in phase one. Number one being site selection for this project. Number two, we're going to look at what the scope of work for this project is. And the third, we are going to procure a design build contractor, and we're looking to start that process in June 2023. With that said, the Chief Operating Officer recommends that the Board of Directors approve the interlocal agreement for Phase 1 of the South Puget Sound Maritime Skills Center and Port Administrative Building Planning and Development.
I move to adopt item 15.1.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and I want to take chair privileges and introduce and welcome the president of the Tacoma Port Commission, council member, Commissioner Deanna Keller, and the executive director of the Port of Tacoma, Eric Johnson. So thank you so much for being here. And I was at your meeting on Tuesday in similar situation where you were passing this interlocal agreement, and it was a very exciting meeting, lots of great questions and enthusiasm on the part of the port. This is an amazing partnership that is going to change the face of, I would say, the economic development in our community for generations to come. And I want to thank Superintendent Garcia and the Port Commission and everyone else who spent a lot of time working on this and designing this on behalf of our children. And I think it's exciting. This is not just for Tacoma Public Schools students, but also for anyone in the South Puget Sound. And I think it's really exciting times. And Superintendent, I think there's a couple things, I mean, like that the public might want to know about that in particular. And so do you have any comments or updates on the Maritime Skills Center beyond what Chris said?
Yeah, I just want to maybe echo your words. Commissioner Keller has been a champion of this concept for a long time. And so we are definitely excited and grateful for her leadership. Executive Eric Johnson has been critical in helping us. It's a partnership with the port, but benefits the whole Tide Flats and all the industry partners in there. And so we have a marvelous opportunity to open up a facility that can be used in the day for students typically served in the high school range. For all South Sound students, it doesn't have to be Tacoma Public School students. We have a partnership already to plan the curriculum with over 10 school districts and numerous partners. In the evening or non-school hours, we are working with other partners like Workforce Central to make sure that the facility is used to its maximum to provide living wage jobs. It aligns, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze here.
It's spring.
Or not. And with other partners that are represented in the JMAC, right? A Joint Municipality Action Group.
Yes.
And so around economic vitality. And so we're just thrilled and excited, and we're highly encouraging you to take action tonight. And I think I'm going to turn it back to Chris because there might be
Yeah,
one
we're going to
other.
actually invite our two guests to come and speak if they'd like. So Eric and Deanna, do you want to pop up?
President Bonbright, members of the school board. Good evening. My name is Eric Johnson. I'm the executive director of the Port of Tacoma, and I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the motion that is before you. But I want to take just a minute to tell you a little bit about, and the people who might be listening and watching, about the Port of Tacoma. The Port of Tacoma is a local government, the same as you. We're the most visible local government in the county, in my opinion, because you look out the window and there we are. Everybody sees us, but we're not particularly well understood oftentimes. But we're always interested in explaining ourselves as much as we can. And we have a tremendous, exciting opportunity right now to partner with the Tacoma School District and the Port of Tacoma on this Maritime Skills Center. The Port of Tacoma, our jurisdiction is all of Pierce County. We're the only county-wide jurisdiction in Pierce County other than the county itself. And so when Dr. Garcia came to me and said, you know, we think that we've got some opportunities to partner on workforce development, I said, well, that's funny you should say that, because our strategic plan that the Port Commission adopted just a couple of years ago elevates workforce training as one of our priorities, which is a new priority for the Port of Tacoma. Because if we don't have workers, we don't have a port. And so I said, well, it's really important for the port, the commission of the port, to serve all of Pierce County, all the residents and the students in this county. And he said, well, Eric, we actually want to go beyond the borders of Pierce County and include South King County in Federal Way. So he didn't just see my bet, he raised it. And I said, well, that's actually music to our ears, because we really want to be a partner for all the students in this region. And so we have tremendous opportunities to create jobs. Everybody knows that students do better when they are raised in a household that has got economic stability. And from there, you know, good things happen. And so we're just starting out. We're at the front edge of this. It's going to be exciting. We're one of the only ports in the state that's going to be doing something like this. And I really want to commend this to you and introduce our president, Deanna Keller.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Commission President Deanna Keller. A lot of you know that I've spent 24 years as an educator. In fact, I've worked with one in the Puyallup School District right here as a principal. 11 years as a business owner, where we trained most of our own workers ourselves. So I know about CTE education and getting people to the next level, from sweeping the floors to becoming a CNC operator. And then 4 years as an elected official, going out and campaigning 4 years ago, listening to our community say, here's this international port that's in my backyard. I don't feel like I have access to these jobs or any kind of training for these jobs, especially those people who are from underserved communities living right here, you know, looking out the door at these, workers, 42,000 direct and indirect workers going in and out of the Port of Tacoma. And this is a great opportunity. I think it also, President Bonbright and I have worked the last 4 years on JMAC, which is the Joint Municipal Action Committee. And this came out of conversations about how can we better serve our community, how can we get women into these jobs, BIPOC community members into these jobs, and there's no better place than through the Tacoma School District's work with that, because you do that every day as well. And we're so excited to partner with you. Our staff is incredibly excited. In fact, you have infused a lot of enthusiasm into the Port of Tacoma just with how excited you are as well. And this is one of those things as a commissioner that when you're elected, you hope that 30 years from now, somebody looks back and goes, you know, that Port Commission really made a good decision, and that school district made a great decision, and it's going to be something that, as Director Johnson said, that will serve and benefit this community for generations to come. We're very excited about the partnership, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, and thank you for coming this evening. And also, I know, Chris, I just wanted to say thank you to you and your entire team that have worked so hard on this as well, because I know it's, we come with a lot of experience with the design build, and which is new to the port in terms of a structural way to build something out. And I think everyone's really excited about the group sharing that's going on between and among our staff. And to me, as you all know, because I talk about JMAC at every single meeting, this is like the living and breathing results of the work, and it just brings joy to my heart. So thank you for making that happen. All right, so it's been moved. Do you have anything you wanted to add, Chris? Okay, no. It's been moved and seconded. Anyone on the dais would like to say anything about this? Okay, all right. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is this a resolution? No.
No.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, passes 4-0. Yes, go team. Maritime Skills Center, here we come. Awesome, and we're just still waiting to hear from the legislature whether or not they actually provide some resources to match what we're bringing to the table as a community partnership. So hopefully we'll have more people contributing to making this happen. But thank you, Chris. I know your life is about to get a lot more exciting. And you never thought it could, right? Never thought it could get any more exciting than it was. Thank you so much. All right, and let's see, Item 15.2, approval of the District Asset Preservation Program Annual Report.
Yeah, we bring this to the board every year. This is the OSPI requirement to conduct a facility assessment on our sites. The Chief Operating Officer recommends that the Board of Directors review the annual report in compliance with OSPI's Asset Preservation Program's building condition standards.
Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt 15.2.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on this annual report that we do on our assets?
Madam President,
Yep.
I just want to thank Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams has an extremely large portfolio, and I think sometimes it's taken for granted the amount of work that happens in partnership with a marvelous team that he has the fortunate opportunity to work with. And we don't pause enough. And so when we work through these moments, pest control, new skill centers, compliance, there's someone behind all of that trying to navigate, support, lead, put flashlights on situations, sometimes slow down, and he doesn't get the opportunity always to share all of the steps in between publicly. So although we are approving something that is really compliance-natured, I'd be remiss not to say I want to thank Mr. Williams for his leadership in all of this work. And I think tonight you saw a very good example of a little bit of the complexity and the sophistication of the portfolio that Mr. Williams has to lead. So thank you for me a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
They didn't vote yet.
We didn't move.
Oh, we didn't vote? Oh, we got so excited. Chris is like, I am done. All right.
We'll see how good you are based on the record.
Okay, anyone want to rethink their, no. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it passes 4-0. Way to go. All right, thank you. All right, so we are just left tonight with the board comments and reports. So who would like to, Vice President Strozier, how about you going first?
That's different.
That's voluntold.
Isn't that voluntold?
So who wants to go
Do you want me to
first? Vice
volunteer?
President.
I always volunteer. I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go because I'll be real quick. This week I got to go to the Terrific Kids Student of the Month situation over at Whitman Elementary. Now, here's a little bit of context. I drive around this city. I've been driving around for a long time, and I've seen those yellow stickers on the back of people's cars, and I remember saying, I am never putting a yellow sticker on the back of my car. And my kid is a terrific kid this month, and she gave me a yellow sticker. Now, I'm in a sticky situation. I need y'all to help me get out of it. So
It's going to look real nice on that pretty red.
Yeah, I bet. So I'm stalling right now, but I got to go there and witness that ceremony, and it's really cute, man, to see those little kids. They're shy. They don't want to go up and get recognized because their friends aren't being recognized, but it's beautiful to see a community of young people like just lifting each other up. Go get your award. They're cheering them on, so it's beautiful. Kiwanis Club members were there. Mr. Willie Stewart was there to present the award, so it was just a good time. And then I know some other folks might talk about this too, but yesterday we got to go to the open house for Willie Stewart, TOL, soda. And man, I'm telling you, that building is very well thought out. And it's great to say, haven't seen anything like this before. Now, folks say this stuff exists, but I ain't never seen it. So I just like the way that we came together and put that spot together for our young people. Overly excited for our Willie Stewart Academy students, though, because 1818 served its purpose, right? And I know that because in 2014 I was working there. And this new space is like the cream of the crop. And you can see it. You can see students being excited to be in the space. The principal says students are re-energized to come back and continue their learning. So anytime we can do that for young people, I applaud the staff and everybody who had a part of putting it together. So Yeah, that's what I got. Real quick report. Thank you.
Okay.
Not going first again.
Yep, and that sticker's going on tonight, yep.
All right, I'll go.
All right, you go.
So one thing that I would add on to the open house yesterday, there was a mom and a son who were trying to see TOL, and they were down on the Willie Stewart floor, and they were trying to figure out how to get it. But the thing that I thought was really remarkable about their purpose of being there is they're like, well, we think TOL might be a really good fit, and so we came to see it. And that there was an ability and a space for them to come do that and they were very excited. And so that was, they got a little turned around. Vice President Strozier and I tried to give them good directions. I hope they followed the balloons and made it there. But it was just really exciting and an unprompted part of being there. I did not get any of the cookies, but whoever created those cookies with all the logos from each school, remarkable. They were real pretty. And then there was that listening session, or then there was listening sessions, which I know others will talk about. Director McElroy and I attended the Asian Pacific Cultural Center listening session last week, which was really, really interesting. And we were there to talk about social emotional well-being and mental health. And I think the thing that I walked away with that was really striking is that for most of the folks that were there, in their own languages, there's nothing to, they have no language for mental health. And Deputy Superintendent Nolan was with us as well, and that was just really interesting because we spend a lot of time talking about SEL, whole child, mental health, and when you come from a culture and a language that doesn't have an ability to translate that, it was just a very interesting and informative discussion, and I was really grateful that to APCC and Lua Pritchard for hosting. It was I was really grateful for the event and just the honesty and openness and the shares that folks had.
Can I stop you for 1 second, just for the public's benefit and those who may not know? The board is working with the superintendent to help us set up 3 different family listening sessions in communities across our district, and we're working with community-based programs that have parents that might not otherwise be able to access or readily access communicating with the board. And so Asian Pacific Cultural Center is one. We're also working with Mi Centro and with the Urban League, and so the other 2 are going to be later on in the next month or so, both of them. And these community partners are bringing parents and families together, providing food, and then leading them through a series of questions that we are listening to the answers. So, so thank you to our community partners that are helping us speak with folks. So, anyway.
Yeah, and I would say that the folks that did talk about the language translation issues, one was from Cambodia. There were several from Samoa, and then also Vietnam, and so they really were trying to explain to us how they talk about mental health, and they all in their own ways said that it's not with kind words because they don't have a way to talk about what does it mean. And so there was an opportunity where we were asked, what does that even mean? What is mental health? And what is social emotional well-being or wellness? And Dr. Nolan did an exceptional job of being able to explain it in ways that relate specifically to school, our school practices, and the whole child. So I felt like it was just a conversation that I don't know that would have happened in that way without this intentional planning and partnership. So I was really grateful to be there. And then yesterday, I felt like yesterday was all the days of listening sessions, but the superintendent, I got to attend both the labor and business partner listening session and most of the session with the faith leaders, which is always really enlightening. And so I appreciate being in a room with people and learning who's in the community, who's in the room, what do they do, how do we overlap, how can we partner better. So I appreciated that greatly. And then, like all things legislative session, Yeah, so we had, the superintendent and I met with the federal relations team a couple weeks ago. We have another meeting tomorrow. And then I'm actually working with some WASDA colleagues on some special education advocacy on a federal level, and we have a meeting tomorrow. That would be, the focus is for statewide advocacy for special education. I think that's it.
Cool, thank you. Director McElroy.
I didn't even go first today.
I know you didn't.
What a shocker. So I'm going to take it down, but I'm going to bring it back up. So first starting with some notes from students that I work with who do go to Gray Middle School, and they did not feel comfortable coming here, nor did their parents want them to come, but they wanted their voices to be heard. But overall, what they talked to me about, and reading from their notes that they typed, they worked hard on it, was that they don't always want to fight, but they have to exude this confidence at school in order to fit in and in order to feel safe. They have to present a stronger, angrier demeanor, or else they fear that they'll be bullied. So when we talk about like fight culture and really how it is manifesting for our students who are not even in the fight culture, they become a part of it by perpetuating this embodiment of themselves that is not their true nature self. That's not who they are when they leave school. That's not who they are at home. But they're saying, like, in order to feel safe in their hallways. And I really do commend Zelda for coming tonight. That was beautiful to hear from the students' words from herself. And for my students, I hope that they can find that confidence to come and speak to people who they think can help them. They do talk to their principal, and I commend their principal for all the work that she's been doing and all the ways that Miss Jennifer laid out, how they've been working to combat this fight culture at Gray. I was there today, so that's what I'll say on that, is that our students, they want something different, but they don't know how to access it. And all of the adults there, we're all doing our part, and the superintendent does his part, and he brings in partners to do their part. But as a community, I hope those who are listening in, especially parents and families at home, talk to your kid about how you can do your part and help them understand this culture and help them be their real selves. That's their notes from them. So I took it down, bringing it back up. So on Tuesday, I went to Head Start Policy Council, and I just want to commend all the parents at Head Start Policy Council. They really know their stuff. So on top of Michelle coming here today, they were able to explain to me the federal word thingamabigger. Yep,
Federal
that
match.
thing that I didn't know how to say, and I didn't know how to say it then, and don't know how to say it now. But I will tell you that these parents, they're so integrated into the policy work of Head Start. They understand their fiscal responsibility when they're governing over how these funds are going to be delivered to their students and families. They are really innovative with their ways to do outreach, and they talked about field trips at the end of the year, which I love because our little ones go on field trips too. And they talked about the busing situation and just how Tacoma really wraps its arms around our little people in Head Start. So that brought me immense joy. I went to the Faith Leaders meeting because I wasn't able to make it 7:45 in the morning. Shout out to you, Superintendent. I couldn't do it. But I think it was really cool to meet with people in the community and just hear what they're doing, how they can bring their lens to our work. And another huge shout out to Amanda Scott Thomas, our Director of Partnership. She was just energizing that whole room, but also she is telling people, if you want to help our students, if you are concerned about mental health and SEL work, join us, join in this work, become an ELO provider. If you can't do that, get an MOU, get a contract, come partner with our district. Just like with the Maritime Skills Center, we are really reaching out to everyone in the community to say, be a part of this solution, be a part of this family, because these kids are part of your family. And I will end on the note that spring break is coming up, April 3rd through the 7th. I've been talking to people in my neighborhood and just reminding them, during spring break, children who are residents of this community may be in the community. They might walk around sometimes, they might ride their bikes, they might play a lot. So just a reminder to those watching and those who may call us after spring break to say, those darn kids were having a great time. Happy spring break to our kids coming up.
Great. All right, well, thanks. Okay, my report is actually just so much has happened since the last meeting. Like the day after the last meeting was our monthly JMAC meeting. And the topic actually was really relevant to this conversation tonight. It's about trying to develop community approaches and solutions to youth violence. Youth violence, youth on youth, violence, as well as violence happening to youth and youth being exposed to violence. And so we had a great presentation by a gal from Imagine Justice Project, which was really fascinating. And it's a group that it's a national group, but it's got a statewide focus, and they help community partners actually build out programs that help kids and support kids. So really got a lot out of that. And also that aligns at JMAC. It's the same groups that is meeting with the mayor and others on dealing with this topic in a very specific way, defining the problem so that everybody's using the same language. So we had a couple of meetings in the last couple of weeks about that as well. Then we also, speaking of violence in kids, is Mount Tahoma actually they invited all the electeds in our community to come to Mount Tahoma and spend an hour and a half with youth. And it was brilliantly orchestrated. The kids, there were about, 20 tables, and there were 7 to 8 students at each table, and they split up all of the electeds, so we were all at different tables. So we couldn't talk to each other. We were just listening to the kids, and it was so powerful. The time went like that. I couldn't believe, you go to these meetings and it's like, is this ever going to end? But this was super deep and exciting, and they did a fabulous job. So I just want to shout out to Mount Tahoma, the students and the faculty that helped bring that on. And I think it really rattled some folks and inspired all of us. So that was great. And the other piece of community outreach. I spent a lot of time this past month working with the Stanley Elementary families around the park renovation project, and went to the meeting, which was pretty heated, with the community that lives around Stanley, and kind of what they want to see. So that was actually also enlightening and really helpful to hear. The other thing, let's see. Didn't forget, we had a board retreat last Thursday, which was also really fabulous. And it was, again, on this theme. It was around whole child, and one of our goals is, of course, student mental health and staff mental health. And so we had an actually really lovely conversation about what we can do about that, and as board members, and what is the role we play? How can we make sure that its whole child is not just happening in the schools, but that it's actually happening out in community? And what can we do as board members to help with that? And of course, my always go to is JMAC, because that's a great place to start. But it's talking about not just that, but all of our community partners working together to use the same language. And I'll give you an example. When I was presenting to the B25 Council, and there was a pediatrician, and we were talking about kids' mental health, and I just said, well, this is what kids learn in school. They learn to talk about their feelings by color or by other ways, and they talk about it, and then there's restorative justice that we do, and this gal was so excited. And she said, well, as a pediatrician, we use a completely different chart, because I was telling her about the green, yellow, red, use the color to describe how you feel. And she goes, we use a completely different chart. Why don't we use the same chart? Because then we'd all be speaking the same language. And as a pediatrician working with a family could say, why don't you ask your child if they feel yellow, that means anxious. If they feel angry, that means then they're red. Everybody used the same language. And so we started actually talking about what would that look like. And so it just by talking with other people and getting everyone to see that the kids are in the community a third of the time, they're at home with their parents a third of the time, they're in school a third of the time. We all have equal obligation, equal responsibility, and equal commitment, I hope, to support our kids. And so there's just a lot of interwoven work that's been going on in the last few months around youth violence. So it may feel like nothing's happening and nothing's changing, but I actually see a lot of movement and a lot of people who are policymakers and who are staffers who are committed, and families and whatever, learning to step up and speak up. So that's great. There was I went to the Foundation for Tacoma Students. Superintendent and I sit on the board, and as non-voting members, and we had a quarterly meeting of from the Foundation for Tacoma Students, and I would just want to kind of announce and put on everybody's radar that May 4th and 5th is the upcoming annual meeting, a conference, which is Charting Our Futures Conference for Foundation for Tacoma Students. So you'll be, looking in your Facebook and other places for announcements it's either from Graduate Tacoma or Foundation for Tacoma Students. You'll hear information about it, and I think it's going to be a very worthwhile conference, so sign up and go if you can. The other was the Port Commission, which I talked about earlier, that I went and got to watch the first part of this interlocal agreement get signed, so that was exciting. And then I also attended the breakfast and with the superintendent's breakfast with the business leaders and labor leaders, as well as the lunch with the faith leaders. And I was really jazzed because it's all about partnerships and how we do this work together. And in the business meeting in particular, I was sitting at a table with a gentleman who does a lot of work already in community, but he had no idea how he could connect to CTE. And, and you've all met Adam Kulas, right? So he was so energized, and the two of them got together, and this guy does podcasts and he does other things. And by the time that they left, there was this whole plan on how we were going to get kids exposed to this work that was not possible 5 minutes before. So these kinds of meetings make those kinds of things happen. So the open house was fabulous. And the other thing, I think the last item was just the work on WASDA's weekly webinars. Today I was on it as well as Director Keating. And I just want to echo the fact that the legislative session is it's in its last month. Oh, well, hopefully, ideally, it's in the last month.
Don't jinx us.
And I will say things are going to move quickly. And so if you hear from someone, or if you get a request from our fearless leader over here, Director Keating, for help to support a bill, please respond immediately, because it's often happening 5 minutes from now. So there's not a whole lot of planning. So I want to thank everyone who's been working so hard and I know that, Lisa, you don't do this alone. Charlie Brown, who's with Cascade, lobbying, what's his name of his company?
Cascade Governmental Affairs. We don't have a lobbyist.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Cascade Government Affairs. Thank you, Superintendent, for that faux pas, correcting my faux pas. Anyway, and his team, and I know we have a lot of staff that are actually providing answers to questions that legislators have about how things work. So everybody's been working super hard, and I really want you to know we appreciate you. All right, well, that's it for me. So,
Madam President, one more thing.
Oh, you go. All right, Mr. Vice President.
There was one thing that I forgot to mention. I was at the 7:45 a.m. meeting.
Yes,
and
you were.
I made a point to mention that when I got there, I wanted to shout out the Foss ProStart students and Mr. Swenson, because they put on the breakfast. They had burritos. Oh, they did lunch too. Well, okay, so they had a busy day. So shout out to the Foss Falcons and the ProStart team, and specifically Mr. Swenson. I mean, I remember back in 2016, he had this grand idea of trying to get a beautiful kitchen in Foss, and I remember him telling me in passing, and I'm like, yeah, good luck, Cram. But to see that come to fruition and then have students actually preparing meals for our events is a beautiful way to see this thing come full circle. So shout out to Foss and ProStart and Mr. Swenson.
And good news on that is they just got approval from the health department to be able to serve the public, which is why they were serving the public that day. And the good news is now they can cater. So anyone who needs some catering, the meal was delicious, and it was professionally presented. So cheers to the kids. That was really great.
Thank you for remembering to mention them.
Thank you. Yeah. It's just been such a blur. All right. So item number 17 is just the announcement of our next board meetings. We will come back after spring break on April 13th for the business meeting here at 6 p.m. April 20th, we have another study session, and then April 27th is another business meeting. And so unless there is something else, Superintendent, do you have anything? Deputy Superintendent? General
We're going to adjourn, but there's some picture opportunities after you adjourn that we'd like to engage you in real quickly.
Okay. All right.
What she meant, what President Bonbright meant to say is excellent.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone, have a great weekend. And if we don't see you, have a fabulous and safe spring break. Meeting's adjourned.